What's up, YouTube? Zero here, and today I have an absolutely phenomenal Terapagos deck in Pokemon TCG Pocket. In this video, I'll go over the deck build that you can see on the left-hand side of the screen. I'll talk about each of these cards individually, and I'll talk about why this deck is absolutely phenomenal and why you should be checking it out. Before I get into it, I do want to say, as always, if you do enjoy this video, definitely hit that thumbs up button. It does really help out me and my channel. Thank you so much in advance for doing so. And if you enjoy Pokemon TCG Pocket content, you enjoy build videos and other content related to Pokemon TCG Pocket, definitely subscribe so you don't miss a video. I come out with meta decks, I come out with unique decks that other players may not be utilizing. But if you like deck builds, definitely subscribe. If you love this game, subscribe as well. Without further ado, let's talk about this deck, and we have to talk about the star of the show, Terapagos EX. This is a card dropped in the Paradox Drive packs that just released, and it's a really fun card. Can also be insanely deadly and really powerful. I really like this card. Really unique, really fun. Does have 150 HP as a basic and has Prism Impact for 3 colorless energy. It deals 80 damage. However, this attack does 20 more damage for each type of energy attached to this Pokemon. So if you run Terapagos EX in a single energy deck type and you only have one type of energy in that deck, regardless of if you're utilizing baby Pokemon or from the energy zone, if you're only utilizing one type of energy and you can only equip one type of energy on Terapagos EX, it can do 100 damage. If you have 2 different types of Terapagos on it, energy on Terapagos, you will be doing 120 damage. 3 energy types, that's going to be 140 damage, and so on and so forth. You can deal a lot of damage with Terapagos EX, depending upon how much energy you are able to equip on it. Now, you are allowed to equip 3 different energy types into your energy zone. So in this deck, I'm running Grass, Psychic, Dark. The reason being is because there are baby Pokemon that can actually make up for the difference. There's Pichu, there's Mantike. If you wanted to, and I've thought about doing this as well, you could put a Magby in here, maybe utilizing 1 Pichu, 1 Magby, and then 2 Mantikes, or kind of rotating depending upon how you want to sort your baby Pokemon. But honestly, you're probably not going to be equipping a lot more than 4 or 5 different energy types by the time you want Terapagos EX to be attacking, which is why I only have a couple of Pichus, a couple of Mantikes. But like I said, it could be a Pichu, a Magby, and a couple of Mantikes, but I like 4 baby Pokemon in this deck regardless of the baby Pokemon. But the reason why I choose Grass Energy, Psychic Energy, and Dark Energy is because I have baby Pokemon that can give me other different types of energy. So I can equip more energy onto Terapagos. You get a Pichu in the active spot, you get a Grass Energy and a Psychic Energy from the energy zone, and now you have 3 different types of energies pretty quickly, which is why you definitely want to make sure the energies you're putting in the energy zone aren't the ones that you have baby Pokemon for. That's just something unique about this deck, is you want to spread around the amount of energy, the different energy types, as much as possible. But that's a way to get as much energy typing onto Terapagos as possible, so it's dealing as much damage. Once you get to about 3 or 4 different energy types, that's when you're going to start dealing the damage and attacking. But it's a really great card. That's why I love these baby Pokemon. It can enhance the energy ramp and the different energy from the energy zones. I've gotten up to 180 damage with Terapagos in an online match. So you can deal a ton of damage. That's going to almost one-hit KO a lot of Pokemon in the game. There's some that are going to just barely squeak out with a little bit of health left, but you can end up getting over that hump if you really need to. But Terapagos, the star of the show, the star of this deck. And I already talked about them. If y'all have been around a little while, you already know Pichu and Mantike, 2 baby Pokemon that have been around for a while. Pichu, you're going to take an electric energy from the energy zone and attach it to a benched basic Pokemon. Mantike, you're going to take a water energy from the energy zone and attach it to a benched basic Pokemon. Both work really well with Terapagos. As I mentioned, you could utilize a Magby if you want to. If you want to add another typing for your baby Pokemon, that's probably a good idea. However, it doesn't matter too much. You're probably going to be able to get 3 or 4 different energy types really quickly with this deck because you have the 3 different energy types in the energy zone and your different baby Pokemon. Sableye. Sableye is really important to talk about and really helps out with this deck, and energy ramp on Terapagos EX as well. So Sableye, this is the Sableye from the Paradox Drive packs, has the attack. And when I call it an attack, it's really not an attack. It's a support attack. Jeweled Gift for 1 colorless energy. So it also works in this deck with the 3 different energy types. Jeweled Gift. You take a random energy from among the energy typings, so grass, fire, water, electric, psychic, fighting, dark, and steel energy from your energy zone. So you take one of those random energy types and you attach it to one of your benched Pokemon. So this works really well. You get Sableye into the active spot and utilizing Jeweled Gift, and you can equip different energy types onto your Terapagos EX. However, it is random. You don't know what energy Sableye is going to grab from that energy zone. It could be an energy you already have on Terapagos, so it's not going to help out. It could be a different energy type. It could be a fighting energy type or a steel energy type. However, there have been times where I have a water and electric energy on Terapagos, and Sableye pulls another electric energy. So it's not going to increase the damage of Terapagos. You need the different energy types on Terapagos. If you have 1 water and 2 electric on Terapagos, that's only 2 different energy types. So you're only going to be dealing 120 damage. Whereas if one of those electric types was a fighting type, you would be dealing 140 damage. So the name of the game in this deck, get as many different energy types on Terapagos EX as possible. But Sableye and Terapagos were a match made in heaven. Sableye must have been made specifically with Terapagos EX in mind, no doubt in my mind. Next, let's talk about 2 more Pokemon. So I want to talk about Furfrou. Furfrou is a great card in this deck just for the fact to deal with Oricorio. I found before I wasn't utilizing any cards that could deal with Oricorio. I ran into some Oricorio decks and they were shutting me down. So I put Furfrou in this deck just to deal with Oricorio. Of course, every Furfrou card, regardless of the one you're utilizing, has the ability Fur Coat, which takes minus 20 damage from attacks. The one I'm utilizing in this deck has Quick Blow for 2 colorless energy, deals 40 damage, but you get to flip a coin, and if it's heads, you get to do 20 more damage. There are a lot of different Furfrous in this game right now. A lot of different ones. There are some that deal 30 damage. There's some that can deal up to 70 damage. This one, for just 2 colorless energy, you have the capability of dealing 60 damage. But at a bare minimum, you're going to be dealing 40 damage. So that's nice. You're going to 2-hit KO Oricorio. If you are able to flip for a heads, you're still going to 2-hit KO Oricorio, but you can 2-hit KO Oricorio that has a giant cape. So flipping a coin is a 50-50 chance. So most likely one of your coin flips out of 2 attacks is going to be heads. So one turn you're going to deal 60 damage, the other turn you're going to deal 40. So you should be able to hit for 100 damage in 2 turns, which will be able to overcome 1 lucky ice pop if it doesn't flip for heads, or a giant cape. So that's why I like this Furfrou, because it has the capability of dealing 60 damage and taking out Oricorio relatively easily, because it's also taking minus 20 damage from attacks. So the Oricorio is going to have to hit you 3 times before it can KO you. So I do like this Furfrou in this deck. It is a really great card, can handle those pesky Oricorios that you may not want to deal with. Next, I do have Teal Mask Ogerpon. There are still, going forward, going to be a lot of status condition decks. Sleep decks, Igglybuff Darkrai are not going away. I'll be honest, I'm still utilizing my Igglybuff Darkrai Mega Lucario deck just because of how good it is. But Igglybuff Darkrai, that combination is not going away anytime soon. Nothing released in this new pack is going to really take care of that deck or that combination. So Teal Mask Ogerpon is one way to deal with it so you don't have to worry about status conditions, particularly Sleep, but there are other status condition decks that are probably still going to be utilized, such as your Mega Sceptile and your Mega Blaziken. Two other very good decks. So Teal Mask Ogerpon, if you get it on the bench, it has the ability Soothing Wind. Each of your Pokemon that has any energy attached recovers from all special conditions and can't be affected by special conditions. So Teal Mask Ogerpon is going to be really great. Makes it so your Pokemon won't fall asleep or be affected by sleep or poison or burn or any other status condition your opponent is trying to affect you with. So it could stop your opponent dead in his or her tracks because of that ability. I am also running Grass Energy in this deck, so there is the possibility, if needed, if I am lucky enough, because running 3 energies is a lot, so you have to get a little lucky. But if needed, I can potentially equip 2 Grass Energies onto Teal Mask Ogerpon, so it's not just a card on the bench. I could equip 2 Grass Energies and attach an attack with Energized Leaves. So Teal Mask Ogerpon with Energized Leaves hits for 60. However, if the amount of energy attached to both active Pokemon is 5 or more, this attack does 60 more damage. So Teal Mask Ogerpon has the capability of hitting for 120 damage. So in this deck, Teal Mask Ogerpon can still perform some form of action if needed. You have your Terapagos EX in that active spot, already has the amount of energy equipped that you need to be attacking. You get a couple of Grass Energies in a row, and you can put them on Teal Mask Ogerpon and be ready to attack if your Terapagos does go down. So it provides several different values in this deck. I absolutely love Teal Mask Ogerpon. It helps out with the status conditions, but also can provide some form of attacking if needed. Now, pulling that energy, that 2 Grass Energy, is going to be a little tough. However, there are options. Grass Energy from the Energy Zone or Sableye in the active spot does have the opportunity of pulling a random Grass Energy from the Energy Zone. So there is that possibility there. Next, couple of cards that are in every deck. 2 Pokeballs, 2 Professor's Research. Don't need to talk about them a ton. If you've been playing the game a while, you already know what they do. Sabrina and Cyrus. Couple more cards that are around in almost every deck. Sabrina, Cyrus, they really don't need much discussion anymore. They're around. They're always going to be around. They are phenomenal cards. Cyrus, you can pull a damaged Pokemon from the bench to the active spot. Sabrina, you can force out a Pokemon from the active spot to the bench. Regardless of your reasoning, they are very good strategic cards. Cyrus to finish off a weakened Pokemon, or pull weakened Pokemon to the active spot that your opponent may just not want there. They have a high retreat cost. They don't have any energy equipped. Whatever reason, forcing a Pokemon into that active spot that may be stuck there. Same thing with Sabrina. You can force a Pokemon to that active spot that may be stuck there or that your opponent does not want there. Next, Copycat. You can shuffle all the cards in your hand and you draw a card for each of your opponent's cards in their hand. This is going to allow you to draw cards a little bit quicker. This deck doesn't have much of a card draw. It has nothing to expedite the card draw. Copycat and Professor's Research, as well as Pokeball, are really going to be it. I do have a May as well. There are a lot of cards in this deck that once you get going, you may not need those basic cards anymore. You really want to get to Terapagos on the playing field and equipping energy on it. So May is important for this deck. What May does, for those of you who don't know, you put 2 random Pokemon from your deck into your hand. For each Pokemon you put into your hand in this way, choose a Pokemon to shuffle from your hand into your deck. So if you have a Pichu or a Mantike in your hand or a Sableye in your hand that you don't necessarily need, you need that Terapagos from your deck, you have the opportunity to utilize May, pull 2 Pokemon from your deck into your hand, and then shuffle 2 Pokemon back that you may not need. Maybe it's a Mantike, maybe it's a Sableye, but you're probably looking for that Terapagos that you want to get onto the playing field so you can get it into the active spot and attacking. And last but not least, Juggler. There's finally a deck for Juggler. Juggler came out in the Fantastical Parade Pack, and it never had a ton of use. However, now with Terapagos, there is a huge use for Juggler. This card is insanely important. So Juggler, for those of you who don't know, you can use this card only if your Pokemon in play have 3 or more different energy attached. You move all energy from each of your benched Pokemon to your active Pokemon. Juggler is going to win you games. You could be at wit's end. You have a Teal Mask Ogerpon on your bench. You have another Pokemon on your bench, could be a Pichu, a Mantike, a Furfrou, regardless of the card. You have Sableye in the active spot. You've been equipping all of this random energy onto the Pokemon on your bench. You've been bricking on getting Terapagos EX. It's been multiple turns. You may have 5 or 6 different energies on your bench to this point in the game. You finally pulled Terapagos. Well, in other decks, Terapagos is going to take 3 turns to build up energy on it. However, you can retreat your Sableye, put Terapagos in that active spot, utilize Juggler, and now you have those 5 or 6 energies that you've been building up all game onto your Terapagos ready to attack. Juggler will save and win you games. It is an absolutely phenomenal card for Terapagos. It is another match made in heaven for this card and this deck. This is a crucial card in this deck because if you have been bricking throughout the entire game and you don't pull Terapagos till maybe the midnight hour, Juggler is going to get all of that built up energy onto your Terapagos so it can start hitting for however much energy you have built up. If you have 5 different energies built up, you're going to be hitting for 180 damage. Remember, for every different energy on Terapagos, it's plus 20 damage. So 5 different energies is going to be plus 100 damage. It's going to be 180 damage. If you have 6 different energies built up, it's going to be 120 damage. So you can deal 200 damage. That's going to one-hit KO a lot of popular Pokemon in the game, including Mega Absol, Mega Lucario, Mega Altaria. 3 very prominent Pokemon that you can win the game with, defeating just because you got your Terapagos and your Juggler. So Juggler is an extremely important card. It is crucial for any Terapagos deck. That is the deck, but it's absolutely amazing. It's a really fun deck. Terapagos EX is a very fun card. I can see a lot of decks being built around this card and winning a lot of games just because of how good it can be with the various ways to build up energy. Let me know in the comments section if you've built a Terapagos deck to date. Is yours similar to mine or is yours vastly different? I'd love to know in the comments section. What are some cards you'd switch in and out to make this deck even better? Let me know. Is there a Pokemon you'd love to see a deck built around? Let me know in the comments section. I will build a deck around any Pokemon you'd like to see a deck built around. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And until next time, peace.